we are going to talk about Occam's razor with Tom out in Michigan. He, him pronouns. Hey, Tom, you're chatting up with Johnny P and Secularity. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing good.
Hey,
Nice.
good.
Good to hear.
Well, yeah, it looks like you want to talk about Occam's razor. What are your thoughts on it?
I got to spit out something complicated in a few words.
Okay.
I have a degree in earth science, and I'm familiar with Albert Einstein. And he said that these scientific ideas and physics formulas should be simple enough to explain to a fourth grader. So after I got my degree, I started learning and reading about philosophy, and Occam's razor just says a philosophical idea should be very simple that anybody can understand it.
Not exactly what Occam's razor is saying, but
close enough.
Not really, I would say. And that's just my thoughts on the matter. Generally, what I consider it to be, and just my understanding. I don't have a degree in anything. My understanding is Occam's razor is saying basically, do not add entities unnecessarily. So if one thing will answer the question, don't add more on top of it, basically. So it's not that it's the simplest answer is correct. It's that the one that doesn't require additional stuff on top of it, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Does that gel with your understanding of it, or because it didn't seem to at first?
Yeah. We were off, but only by a little bit. I get the point that you're making.
Good. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, since you corrected me, I'm trying to think fast and say this in a very simple way. I tend to use big words, like a 4 or 5 syllable word, and people get confused by it. And people have said to me that I need to simplify and use everyday language to express my thoughts.
I think that's really valuable. I don't think it's always a requirement, just because there are some concepts I think you just kind of have to say them and then try and explain further. But I think in general, when we do have these really high level conversations, it is really helpful to be speaking at a level where you don't have to be an expert, to understand all of it. So I mean, I'm with you there.
If you want to be understood by people, it's helpful to use regular words. It's kind of like my dentist always says, only brush the teeth you want to keep. Only use the language that, you know what I mean? Use the language that if you want your, never mind. I got so lost in my thing, but it's true. J Mike, are you listening? Use
J Mike.
Use words that people understand. I'm with you, Tom. And the people who are giving you that advice, look, I'll tell you, and I'm going to shut up after I say this, but I have written, allegedly, a lot of different legal briefs. Someone's going to make a joke about my underwear at this point, but I've written a lot of legal briefs, and I've had supervisors over the years who've said, Johnny P. Angel, Esquire, why are you throwing in those $3 words? I only use $3 words, not even $5 words. The judge doesn't have time for that. The jury's not going to understand it. And you're going to lose people. But that's not why you called. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. Tom, go ahead. You're using simple words for simple people like me and maybe secularity. So what simple words are you going to use?
Definitely.
Well, 70% of this is understanding Occam's razor as opposed to what Albert Einstein was saying. So that clears up almost everything. But the idea of a pun and humor, using a word that has multiple meanings, as opposed to defining something that only has one meaning. That's where I was trying to go. We got there. Seems pretty simple.
Oh, well, yeah. If you're saying you had some questions and confusion and stuff, and we helped clear that up. I mean, yeah, that sounds great. That's successful to me. But if you want, I mean,
90%.
if you have, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, 90% of what you talk about is biology. And I was headed down the road of physics and astronomy with dark matter and black holes and trying to think of that rocket that goes out. There's one that's going around the moon, and then there's a James Webb telescope, and that's where I was going.
Okay. Yeah, what were you saying that some of those things indicated a God to you, or did you just thought maybe the God answer was the simpler one, or
none of the above?
Okay.
So the James Webb telescope didn't go, hey, look, there's God. So proving God with a telescope hasn't worked.
Sure.
But there is sort of this curiosity and the idea of proving that God exists in the big expanse of the universe in empty space. And as a side note, no, we haven't found life at all. So there's all this speculation that we humans will find life, biology, but we haven't done it yet.
And are you saying that those two claims seem to be kind of going at the same thing in your eyes? Are you saying that we just kind of seem to accept that, hey, we will eventually find life somewhere else for the most part, like probably there's other life than just this one rock? Are you saying that sits in the same place as, like, probably if we keep looking into the universe and stuff, we'll find God? Or am I just misunderstanding?
At this point, I'm not saying God 100% exists because I don't have proof. I am saying, in my opinion, it's 75% possible that a supernatural being exists, but I'm 25% not sure because of evidence. I'm lacking the evidence to prove 100% that, yes, God exists.
Okay. All right. Tom, I know that those aren't like hard numbers. This is not arithmetic. You're just giving us, you're expressing to us your confidence level, right? Is that safe to say?
Correct.
Okay. I want to know what gives you a 75% confidence level that God exists? Because I'm not going to get, why isn't it 74? Why is it 76? I'm not going to get into that argument. But
darn it.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'm bad at math. But why? What is it that convinced you 75% of the way, or gives you that level of, you're leaning at that angle toward it? What is it? That's what we're here for. James Webb Telescope notwithstanding, it's not out there to discover life. It's there to learn more about how the first galaxies formed, and according to NASA, to build upon the previous observations. So what gets you 75% of the way? That's what we're really interested in here.
Very quickly, two things. One is the difference between biology and geology. And the second thing is the definition of God, regardless of how you spell it.
All right. I want to hear about the difference between biology and geology, because my understanding is that geology is the study of the Earth and the processes that cause it to look like it does and to have the qualities that it does. And biology is the study of life, living things, right?
Correct. I agree with that.
Okay. All right.
So when I get into these conversations, the biggest problem I have is how a person defines God. But that conversation falls under theology. Getting back to the geology and biology, I forget what year it was, but there are these rovers on Mars. that didn't find anything. They didn't find space alien garbage. They didn't find any sign saying made by so and so. Here's
Talk into your phone, Tom.
Oh,
yeah. I'm sorry. Better?
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
much better.
Okay. So there's nothing on Mars that says Mars was made in the year da-da-da-da. But approximately the year 1985.
Tom, talk into the phone.
that
please.
audio is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Are you moving around? Are you
Yeah.
on speaker or anything? Because
you're
if you're
moving.
moving
No,
around,
I'm
stop.
We can't hear you. We just want to hear you, Tom. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We want to make sure all the viewers and stuff can really understand what you're saying. So give us another try, and if the audio is still just bad, we'll maybe drop you back into the queue and see if maybe we can fix it. But go ahead again, Tom.
Yeah.
We'll see how the audio is going.
Go ahead.
I'm on a cell phone. You told me twice to speak into the phone.
Now we
doing
hear
my
you.
best.
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Yeah, see,
Go
now
ahead.
it's good. So keep
Yeah.
whatever you're doing right now, just keep doing that.
Don't do anything else. Just tell us. Give us what you got.
So I'm trying to compare the planet Mars to the planet Earth, and the scientists who found life in the bottom of the ocean that uses chemosynthesis, and people, Americans that went to Mars with robots, they didn't find anything.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm 75% sure that an invisible, metaphysical, supreme being exists.
Why does that? How do those two things connect for you in your head? I personally just don't see a connection between those things. So what is that? What is that bridging thing for those?
Occam's razor. That it's got to be a very simple one thing that's not a pun, that doesn't have multiple answers. It must be a monotheistic supreme being.
So are you saying, just to make sure we're on the same page, are you saying that because when humans actually finally were able to get some samples collected of Mars, that dirt and so forth, because we did not find anything that indicates that life currently is there, that makes you 75% in the camp of saying that a supernatural thing had to create us?
Yeah.
Am I understanding that right?
Yes. That's what I'm implying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Why would not finding something indicate the existence of something different? Like if I go into my kitchen right now, Tom, and I don't find a roast turkey in my oven, does that mean that I definitely have a ham in the fridge?
No.
Right. So why would not finding life on Mars indicate the existence of something completely separate? What's the connection between those things?
Right.
How anybody defines the word life and how anybody uses the English language to define the word God.
Yeah.
The connection is the English language. I'm really not trying to be like a jerk or anything, Tom. I'm deeply confused as to the connection.
Yeah.
There's a logic here. And the point that I tried to make when I wasn't speaking into my phone, scientists who work at Woods Hole went into the ocean and around the year 1985, and it changed Linnaeus's taxonomy, and they created a new kingdom because life in the ocean uses chemosynthesis. When Americans put the rover on Mars, they didn't find garbage. There wasn't rat droppings. There weren't fossils of dinosaur footprints. there wasn't, it was a lack, a negative evidence for any kind of life. No primate, no bird, no reptile. You know, it was a lack of evidence.
Okay. Tom, what does Earth life, this is a very general statement, what conditions are necessary for Earth life to exist? Because that's a pretty complicated question. So what are some things that the life we find on Earth needs?
So very simply, it's the Goldilocks zone. It has to be a certain distance from the sun to get the photons and the light to produce energy. And
Okay. So Tom, for human life, right, to be sustained, not even to exist, but to evolve or develop over time, but for human life, we need air and water, right? We need light ultimately because we need to eat food, and we need sufficient conditions. We need nitrogen in the soil so that the plants can survive. We need a physical substrate for those plants to exist, whether it's water or if it's soil, because they have to have roots. They have to grow under certain conditions. We need a certain gravitational pull for human life to not fall apart. At some point the body starts deteriorating. They're doing studies on that. You need a lot of different qualities need to be in place for a human to exist. Okay, so why would you expect to find that, like human life, primate life, plant life, lizard life, on Mars? You taled about.
No, I didn't say that.
No. I don't. You didn't say that. But hang on. Let me rephrase it. All right. Withdraw the question. So you were talking about the life that exists in deep thermal vents below the ocean, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I did say that.
Yes. So now we've got. Let's simplify it. Okay. We've got surface life, right, including humans, and we've got suboceanic life. We've got two different types of life. I know that's far more complicated than that, right? And we've got two different sets of conditions.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, it's far more. But let's just boil it down to two, all right? Because you mentioned dinosaurs too. Now, do we have those exact same conditions on Mars?
No.
No. Okay. Do we have them in the void of space?
At this moment, we don't know. As I'm talking to you on the telephone, the James Webb Telescope's trying to find an answer to that.
Well, we don't appear to have, let's just say, a range of temperature, oxygen, that kind of stuff in between the planets, in between the stars, in the void of space. We don't have those conditions in the void of space, so we wouldn't expect to find it there. We wouldn't expect to find it on Mars because it's not there. We wouldn't expect to find it on Venus. We wouldn't expect to find it on Jupiter because it's not in the Goldilocks zone. However, the only other planets that may exist in the Goldilocks zone are so far away that we don't know if it would meet the parameters for human or deep oceanic vent life, right? So the fact that we don't know is evidence for God? I don't get it.
Right. So let me try and use Occam's razor and make this simple and clear.
Okay.
In philosophy, it's called burden of proof. In philosophy, it's called trying to prove a negative. And I know this is complicated, but I'm trying to keep it simple. The point that I'm trying to make is there's a difference between finding life and finding evidence of life. The rovers that are on Mars didn't find an animal creature walking around. And they did not find bones. They didn't find claw marks.
We're with you here, Tom. We're not disagreeing on that.
Yeah.
Johnny and I both we're right there with you. I think this part that you're about to come up to is the part that we're struggling with. So didn't find any of that stuff on Mars. So therefore what? Because we didn't find any of this on Mars, therefore what?
How do I prove a negative? How do I prove to you that the lack of fossils, there were no fossils? Therefore, there's no evidence. Fossil equals evidence.
Tom, hang on a second, because I'm not super positive as to why we seem to be stuck here. I understand why we're stuck a little bit further, but this particular point, in terms of its stickiness, I must say I am confused. And here's why. I definitely don't think that we found life on Mars. I feel really good about saying that. I feel really good about saying we did not find fossils or dinosaur footprints or rat poop. Definitely not Johnny's dog's poop. So
can't even find it on
I
Earth.
guess what I am interested is this next part, Tom, because it seems to be the case that you have said a couple of times that because we didn't find this stuff on Mars, that somehow leads you to having about 75%, again, just rounding numbers, but about 75% in terms of that stance of, yes, I think a God is real. So for Johnny and I, our confusion lies right in the middle, that connecting piece. We understand that you think a God is real. We don't. You do. We get that. All three of us seem to be in the same boat regarding fossils on Mars, which is not there. So help us with that bridge between why not finding life on another planet, why that gets you towards believing a God exists. That's the part I think that we're having trouble with.
Yes.
Did that make sense?
Please elucidate.
Yes. It's called Jupiter's moons. And there's a theory that on Io, underneath the solid ice around the moon, that NASA will drill a hole and find life inside the water. And they think that they're around the year 2032, 2033, NASA will complete that experiment and we'll have an answer if there's life on Jupiter's moon.
It's Europa, because Io is
It's Europa. Okay.
Yeah. I've seen 2010.
Thank you.
The year we made contact. Okay. Listen, is it your assertion that the only reason why there's life on Earth is because it had to have been put there by a creator? Because we're not finding it on Mars, okay.
No.
Wow, Tom, I'm honestly, like there's a disconnect, and
I'm because it's very simple. You define
maybe it
God
isn't
as the Christian God in the Bible, and I don't define God that way. It's the,
how do you define God?
I don't know why you would say that.
How do you define God?
Yeah. How do you define God? We haven't defined God at all. So
at that point, we just have to agree to disagree, and I need to say goodbye.
What are we disagreeing about?
You can't define your God?
Because you can't define God.
I have no idea. Yeah, Tom, I'm desperately asking for something out of your mouth on this call to make sense. I genuinely think you are a decent human being, and you have thoughts in your head that you can make vocal. I definitely believe all of these things, okay? With or without the evidence for that belief, I have that belief. And what I am asking you right now is so simple, which is, you have a definition of God. It is not the definition that Johnny and I have, and it would be awesome if you could explain that definition to us. Will you please explain
Sure.
the definition?
Yeah. there's one definition that comes in three parts. God cannot be created or destroyed. God can be known through revelation. God can reveal itself. And God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-present. Add those three together, and that's my definition of God.
I don't think that is a definition. I don't think that adheres to what we mean when we say definition. If I'm asking you what the definition of a cup is, and I say a cup is all-knowing, that doesn't do anything in terms of explaining it. I asked you what you mean when you say God, and you said God can't be created or destroyed, which kind of sounds like what we generally say when it comes to energy. So I don't know why you would add on another label. But if I say, what do you mean when you say God? And the only thing you tell me is God can't be created or destroyed. Do you see why I don't feel like there has been any clarification?
Wait, Tom, before you answer that, that's true. But also, can you just define things into existence? How do you know that any of this is true? God can't be created or destroyed. How do you know that? How do you know that there is such a thing?
That's why I started by saying I'm 75% sure, and that's why we keep running in circles.
Why are you even 75% sure if you can't define the thing? That's kind of what we're getting at, man.
No,
why are you even 75% on this?
Because I can contradict you as much as you can contradict me.
Tom, I almost called you Rick. Tom, I'm trying to just I'm not even trying to contradict you. We're just trying to understand you.
We're running in circles here.
No, we're not even running in circles. We're standing still, and you're behind us.
I don't think we've even moved.
Yeah,
I don't even think we've moved.
Tom, I
gotta say, Tom,
over the place, and maybe it seems like that because you're. Go ahead, please, shed some light on me.
Yeah, give us some other minutes.
Question, but I'm not the host.
You know what? I'm kind of curious.
Well,
what the question
you know what?
Is. Yeah. What?
Yeah. We'll let it go, Tom. Ask us a question. We will do our best to answer, and then we will wrap this thing up and take a post-show call. What is your question, Tom? Let's get something out of this call today.
I'm trying to make a distinction between believing and proving. I believe
is that your question?
That there's a supernatural being, but I can't prove to you, or I can't supply the evidence that would move the needle from 75 to 100. And
do you think
God is not a thing that you can put in your hand? I don't define God as a graven image or as an idol. And so
do you think it is? Do you think it is a beneficial way to live your life believing things that you cannot prove to other people?
And that's why I talked about these planets and life on Titan or Zeta.
Tom.
I heard you.
Okay, so answer the question. Yes or no? Yes or no, Tom?
Just answer the question.
Do you think it is a beneficial way to live life believing things that you cannot prove to yourself or others? Do you think that is a beneficial way to live life? Just yes or no? Me freaking either, Tom. And I think that is the perfect place to end that call. Thank goodness we finally got something that we can point to and say, hey, yeah, everybody out there, either watching live right now on the YouTubes or hanging out with us afterwards, please don't accept things you don't have evidence for.
No.